The Queen's Jewish Link presents the Jewish Living Podcast, the show that examines the many facets of Orthodox Jewish life. Here's your host, Izzo Zwirin.
Pesach is always a hectic time in our lives. Many of us are busy cooking, cleaning, readying for guests, packing, or a combination of any or all of those things. Some of us have the ability to find alternative plans for Pesach, where most of the work is already done for us in the form of Pesach hotel programs. This year, though, we have the added question of COVID, which comes with its own set of issues, and possibly the most effective part of Pesach planning is the Pesach program industry. And to help us sort it all out is our guest this week.
Hi, I'm Avi Lasko. I'm the youngest of four of the Laskos and proudly run the Lasko Getaways business for the last 32 years.
Avi will be giving us a glimpse at what Pesach programs are doing to prepare for their industry's busiest season, and how COVID is impacting what they will be doing. All right, Avi, thank you so much for joining us. So can you give me, I know you gave a little bit of a background, it's about a 32-year-old business. Can you give a little bit of a background about the Lasko Getaway company?
Sure. So we started, the company was started by my mother and father in 1989. After a very long career in education, my father decided to pivot to nothing better than the Pesach business. It was a quite a different field, and he decided after many years of being in education that business was the way to go. And he built his business from nothing. In 1990, he started with his first Pesach at the Bonaventure Resort and Spa in Weston, Florida. And really the rest is history. It's been around all over Florida and all over the country in the very high volume years. There was 8 hotels at one point during Pesach, and we've grown the business, and the business has grown into a really amazing high-end luxury vacation business that we're trying to function now year-round, not just Pesach.
Right, so we will get to some of your year-round experiences that you've had this year and maybe planning for next year. But in terms of the business itself, it is itself a year-round business, even though as of almost recently, you have basically been exclusively a Pesach hotel, but this is something that has to be done throughout the course of the year, correct?
Sure. Yeah, we start almost right away after the previous year Pesach. We start planning for next year's Pesach. It's really a June to Pesach business, and then it takes a couple months to wind down from the current Pesach and move over to next year. We start planning and really trying to make it an incredible experience. It really is. It's 10 months, 11 months a year. We plan for the following year.
And for those listening, just so you know, we are recording this about a week and a half before Purim. This is prime time, like down to the wire timing for Pesach hotels. And we definitely appreciate Avi giving us time to discuss some of these issues that we're going to be facing this year. So let's get right into it. 2021, this is COVID, not at its peak, but we are pretty strong into COVID at this point. So the first thing that's going to be on anybody's mind that's going to be booking, not only with you, but any Pesach hotel, is the safety precautions that are going into what people are going to have to go through in order to have the experience that they would like on Pesach.
Sure. Yeah. So COVID is obviously on everybody's mind, and it's certainly in the forefront of our minds, and it has been. It's been 22 months now at this point since our last Pesach program. So it's been quite a while since we've gotten our feet back on the ground with this. We're super excited. Really can't tell you how much we're looking forward to this year, to 2021. It presents its own, COVID presents its own issues and problems, and we're excited to take on the challenge. Part of what we're doing. I shouldn't say part of what we're doing. COVID is really at the forefront of everything we are doing in terms of safety and precautions. Obviously, Pesach has become synonymous, and Pesach programs have become synonymous with food and the amount of food and all the different outlets and places you can get food at a program, and ours is no different. Our COVID plans really start with food and our food program. Besides for our staff and our culinary team and everybody else being checked and constantly monitored for symptoms and all of that, our food program has taken on basically a life of its own with COVID. We are offering indoor and outdoor dining, socially distant dining, meaning there will be tables that will be no less than 6 feet apart. Our program itself, our food program itself, is going to become very individualized, very much a program of your own individual food. So all of our buffets will be behind plexiglass or glass. A guest will not be allowed to scoop, touch, or breathe on any of the items. They will all be waiter or chef attendant served, with a waiter or chef attendant being gloved and masked fully to ensure the safety of everyone. Um, we have a number of other precautions that we are putting into place. All of our outdoor dining experiences, including our pizza shop and barbecue, will all be behind plexiglass and glass, with a lot of great surprises coming with that. We're having all different kinds of stations. We've adapted to the times, in terms of all of those things, where we're going to really see a lot of things that are going to be individualized and individual containers personalized to you. We're very proud that we're going to have Crawford's Coffee Bar from the Five Towns join us this year. They're going to be running a coffee bar shop of their own that's going to be contained within our program. Part of that is going to be and utilize all of their current safety guidelines and restaurant guidelines as well. And we're proud of the work that we're doing to do for safety for our food program. As far as our other programs, masks will be required in all indoor places, indoor public places. In addition to that, our programs will take on socially distance guidelines. Our shul, both indoor and outdoor minyanim, will require being socially distant and masks. In addition to that, we are making sure that pods will be set up for people, so they will have there will be a minimum of 6 feet apart from the next closest people. Outside, by our pool areas and by our eating areas outside, we will be requiring masks and socially distanced guidelines. We are following our CDC guidelines. We have a medical advisory committee who has helped us and guided us through all this whole process of writing protocols for us.
All right. So a couple of things that you pointed out. You're bringing in some new partners. Any changes that you're making this year? Do you think any of those would be lasting throughout coming years, even post-COVID?
Absolutely. I think the whole landscape of the way we used to see buffets and do buffets is going to change very much. I think people, for the foreseeable future, if not forever, will now recognize that they don't need to they don't want other people breathing and being all over their food. And I think that's going to change for the future. I don't think this is something that's going to go away. Like everybody says, COVID is not COVID like the flu is not going to go away. It's going to be here, and we're going to learn to deal with it and adapt to it and vaccinate for it, and this and the other. And I think that's going to change the landscape, the way not just our industry but the catering industry in general is going to look at things for the future.
I'd love that to change for like a Shabbos Kiddush. That would be phenomenal.
I think it will. I think you'll be surprised pretty soon that will change. And listen, I don't have a silver ball here, but I can tell you that I think in the future this will all change, for the and maybe quite frankly for the better. But I think people are going to look at things very differently than they used to.
Let's talk a little bit about the options that you guys have this year. I saw that on your website you have 3 different options, locations. Well, the most interesting one to me is Lasko at Home. Can you talk a little bit about what Lasko at Home is?
Absolutely. So we had to evaluate all of the different options and all of the different things that we had available to us, moving into this year. And obviously, a concern for us was being able to adapt to the new environment and what people would like. There are a number of people who are still willing to travel to a hotel, and we're very grateful for those people. But in addition to that, there are a number of people who are not yet quite ready to travel, or to travel to a hotel and have to be in a hotel atmosphere and a full-fledged hotel program for Passover. So we decided to start this what's called LG at Home, or LG by Lasko Getaways, which is a little bit of a different brand of ours. And LG at Home is a food delivery program, a fresh food delivery program. We are different than the rest because we are delivering you fresh made food on a daily or per yontif basis, meaning that you'll be getting daily food delivered to you for your yontif meals, lunch and dinner. We are in addition to fresh delivered food for Yontif, we're doing Cholamoid, and we are also doing a number of other things. We could do everything from koshering your kitchen to providing you china, glassware, silverware for you. Giving you we have an app that has a grocery list that you'll be able to order your groceries, and you can have a fully stocked pantry and refrigerator ready to go. The goal from us is giving you a turnkey, convenient option, so you don't have to sweat and come down and worry about making Pesach when you could spend much more time on the beach or at the pool, and much less time in the kitchen and hassling through making Pesach, which I learned for the first time in my life last year. It's not such an easy thing to do at home. I have never spent a Pesach at home in my lifetime. Last year was my first. And I could tell you that I look forward to not spending another Pesach at home, God willing, for a very, very, very long time. It's not a great experience. It is a great. It was fantastic in the sense that I never had to. I was never able to have Seder with my own children because I've been very busy, as you can imagine, during Seder. But on the flip side of that, I did recognize the trials and tribulations that people go through to make Pesach and kasher your kitchen and do all of that, and it is a hassle. Um, we're trying to take the hassle away from everybody. That's the whole mantra of LG at Home: is less time in the kitchen, more time on the beach.
Right.
So
And LG at
uh,
Home is not only for people who have previously been at your program or any other program, but that could be for somebody that generally spends a time at home and maybe they just want to have a little bit of a different experience.
Absolutely. This is for everybody, anybody and everybody, who's looking for the convenience and really looking for high end, high quality, really great, delicious food, that really wants a great experience with very little hassle. Everything comes prepackaged, ready to go, heat and serve, and ready for you to serve it to your guests at home.
And let's say I only wanted partial, I don't want the whole Pesach. I want the first days. I want the last days. I want just Chol Hamoed. I can do that also.
You could get it all. You could get it all. We have several different packages available, and you could get any and all of them, from anything from every lunch and dinner to just Yontif lunch, or just first days, last days, whatever you want to do. You could get it with us.
Okay, so we already spoke about the food. We already spoke about some of the restrictions that are going to be required of guests. What about entertainment-wise during Chol Hamoed? That's another thing that Pesach hotels are famous for. How is that going to be changed, if at all, this year?
So we're actually very excited. One of the things that I really pride myself on, and pride ourselves on us doing, is that we are doing this program without cutting back on anything. Meaning that you're going to walk into a program that you've walked into year in and year out before. It's going to be unrecognizable in the sense that there's going to be no difference. We're not cutting back on entertainment. We're not cutting back on our food options. We're not, it's going to be a wonderful experience, with changes, recognizable COVID changes, that I mentioned before. Entertainment wise, we're planning an unbelievable entertainment experience, beginning with Simcha Liner. We have the Chicago Acrobat Boys coming. We have a variety show plan. We have a whole Cirque night plan. We have a tremendous amount of really cool entertainment. The real thing that's going to change is we're doing as much as we possibly can outdoors. Medical professionals all suggest that outdoors is far safer than being indoors in terms of COVID. So we are doing a lot of our things outdoors. We have the luxury of having an incredibly amazing hotel that has a vast amount of outdoor area. Even from the time you walk in, our hotel leads to outdoor walkways and pathways. Beautiful. We have a beautiful walking trail all around Aventura. There's a 5.5 acre water park exclusive to our hotel guests, like none other in South Florida. Quite frankly, I don't know of another hotel in the country that has what our hotel has, at the JW Marriott. So in terms of entertainment, not just our own private entertainment that we plan year in and year out, but we have a full-fledged basketball program that we are planning with the number 9 pick in the LeBron James draft. Michael Sweetney will be running our program. It's under the guides of Hustle and Heart Sports, who run a very successful Long Island and actually tri-state really now sports program. So Michael Sweetney will be heading that up. We
Michael
have our
Sweetney was
regular.
mentioned on a previous podcast that we did with Elliot Steinmetz, head coach of YU. Michael Sweetney is an assistant
There you
coach
go.
at YU right now.
So there you go. So
Welcome
he's
back,
the
Michael
assistant
Sweetney.
coach
That's
of
twice.
YU. That's twice.
If we get a third one, then you have to come on the show, Michael Sweetney.
You got it. He happens to be an unbelievable guy with a fascinating story. I highly suggest you get him for your podcast. And I'm sure he would love to do it because he really is a phenomenal. I've gotten to know him personally, not just as a basketball player. I played basketball with him as well. In camp this summer, I was able to play. We had a couple of pickup games with him. I don't know if they're really called pickup games when you have a professional former NBA player playing, but nevertheless, it was a lot of fun. And he's not just a fun guy; he's got an incredible story of his NBA career and how he's turned that into really helping people with mental health. I strongly suggest it. I digress.
Yes.
Back to the actual story here. So we have an unbelievable kids program that we are continuing to do day in and day out. We're not cutting back on that. Our scholar residents are amazing, and we're really looking forward. We have our a cappella group led by Craig Resnovitz, and I'm sure you know a bunch of these guys, Morty Weinstein and Craig Resnovitz and Mayor Popowitz, and all of these guys. It's very exciting. We have them coming back, and they are planning their own COVID safe protocols, singing in masks behind some sort of plexiglass barrier. So we're really doing things. We're going to continue to do our entertaining, but in a safe manner. Which I think is important. I think people should know that we really are trying to think everything through in a very safe, positive way, but not cutting back.
Okay, well, not cutting back and also applying some new changes. So people are going to be wondering, how does that affect my bottom line? How does that affect the cost of this year? Is that going to go up, or is that something that Lasko is absorbing?
So a little bit of both. We have not, and again, like I said, we have not raised our prices very insignificantly in comparison to what we are absorbing. As I'm sure many people are aware, the Pesach business got hammered pretty hard last year in 2020, and it's been a very big struggle. But we are light at the end of the tunnel here. We are very excited and looking forward to 2021. I believe this is a year of great opportunity, not just growth, but opportunity to show the rest of the world that this industry is not a industry that's going to fall by the wayside. This is an industry that is stronger, and we are stronger for it. And we have come up with ideas and ways to be able to function in a very positive manner and in a safe manner, even though we have a pandemic going on, and that we can continue to do these things in a very safe manner, and that we're resilient behind that. I'm not talking just for Lasko Getaways. I'm talking about for our industry. We're an industry that's very susceptible to the outside world, as I can tell you from personal experience last year. But I think all of us on all of our different programs, whether competitors or not, are going into this year with a very different look, and we are fully aware of our surroundings and what the environment we are in, and we are doing our very best. Certainly, I can speak for our own personal company. We are doing our very best to cross our T's and dot our I's, as they say, from a COVID perspective. So really, that in a nutshell is from a price perspective. To answer your question directly, from a price perspective, we are doing our best to not raise our prices, increase our prices dramatically, and absorbing much of the cost of the changes involved.
you mentioned the other, like your competitors, but I would imagine the Pesach hotel industry is a small community. You guys know each other, even though you're competing against each other every year. These types of discussions happen all the time, I'm assuming. What are we doing for safety? And I'm not just talking about for COVID. There's probably a lot of safety issues that you have on a regular year with potential for susceptibility. So do you have these broad conversations with other people that you're competing with?
Yes and no. I think the broad conversations come more as communities, much more than in an individual conversation per se with another company. We have been. I live in Hollywood, Florida, and we have the luxury of having of being in Florida living during a pandemic versus New York. And I imagine that most people that are listening to this podcast are very aware of the distinct differences between the states when it comes to COVID, and how we've bounced back versus New York. And I'm not no politics and no politics aside here. We're just we're on a different kind of playing field, I guess, than New York is in terms of our restrictions, stuff like that. So we have the luxury of being able to look, and I would say it's really a blessing in disguise of how not just other states, but other Jewish communities. You're in West Hempstead, to look at you guys and to be able to see how the shul and the schools and different businesses are guiding themselves, and we're able to then take that back and say we could put these things in place and we could put that in place and these restrictions and so on and so forth. My shul, for example, Youngers of Hollywood, I may do things slightly differently, or maybe very similar to the way I'm sure Youngers of Woodmere or Anshe Shalom in West Hempstead does their things. And we take the best of both worlds, and that's really the goal here. Is I think amongst the industry and while we may talk, about these things and safety risks, and we really are able to take best practices and put them into place. And that's ultimately our goal, is to take all of any practice that we can and make it really the best practice and the safest practice for everybody.
So last question about safety. God forbid there is an outbreak over Pesach in one of your hotels. Are there contingency plans in place?
Absolutely. So while not getting into real specifics here, because I don't really want to talk about, God forbid, what would happen, we are, besides for testing beforehand, and hoping that people are being as responsible as they can. This is a little bit different than a school and a shul. A Pesach program is a business that people are paying for a certain service, and I can't force anybody to do right, wrong, left, or right here, but we can enforce rules and guidelines. And with everything else, we are going to have rules and policies and procedures and guidelines in place if there was, chas v'shalom, God forbid, any sort of outbreak during Pesach. It is a 10, 11-day program, so obviously there are risks involved, and there are innate risks involved in all things, and we do have contingencies in place, be it quarantine areas and quarantine floors and rooms and isolation. We are prepared to do in-room dining if there is an issue of any sort with someone who tests positive. Contact tracing is certainly amongst the plans, and our guidelines. It's a little hard to understand specific contact tracing because we are amongst many other people, in terms of a Pesach program, but that's why we are doing everything in our capabilities and our power to keep people socially distant. When you do that, it's much easier to contact trace back, to see in the immediacy and all of that, of how close you were for how long, and so on and so forth. But like I said, like I said previously, we are taking our best practices and putting them into place here, so we are able to really make the safest program for everyone involved. And I've told this to guests, and I'll tell this to you: this is not for everyone. This is not a perfect. It's not perfect. We are learning, like everybody else, about COVID. As things evolve and progress, and we are learning to try to do our very best to make this the safest program possible. But it is, again, not everybody is going to feel this is the perfect scenario for them. And we are very much, most importantly, looking forward to the future, where we don't have to have all these safety precautions in place, and God willing, getting back to quote unquote whatever they say is normal or normalcy. And I think the common word or the trending word a few months ago, I think rings true today. A new normal, whatever that new normal looks like to you and to me, probably is different. But I'm looking forward to what the new normal brings.
All right, Avi, where can people find out more about Lasko Getaways? And is there any space left? People still want to register.
Sure. So there's definitely space left at our programs. We are, thank God, doing very well. One of the things that I failed to mention that I guess is important to mention now is we are going to be capping out our capacity. We are not going to be having a full program as we've had in the past. We are going to be capping out our capacity at 50% for people. So we definitely do have some space left, but it is going, and God willing, we'll be able to get back to full capacity by next Pesach. That being said, I strongly encourage and people who are interested to go to our website, www.laskogetaways.com. Again, that's www.laskogetaways with an S, Getaways.com. Where they could find out information about all of our different programs we have. We also have a program on the beach, on Miami Beach itself. That's a Seacoast apartment program. That is a turnkey apartment program similar to the LG at Home idea, with an apartment on overlooking Miami Beach, directly on the beach with private beach access. So you can find out about all of our different programs online at www.laskogetaways.com.
All right, last question that I have for you, because we did mention it earlier. I know you guys did a program this year, Hanukkah in Dubai. If you want to talk a little bit about that experience, probably one of the first programs that happened in Dubai, and what might be on the horizon for non-Pesach programs from Lasko.
Sure. So Hanukkah in Dubai was awesome. Dubai I strongly suggest people go. It is an incredible experience. And just the fact that you could be able to have from 3 meals a day, davening 3 times a day in an Arab country, to me, is really incredible. But even more so than that, we are very, very proud. Myself and Jeremy Goldfeder from JM Food and Event Design, and Lasko Getaways, we partnered together to be the first American program in Dubai. It was a really, really, really cool experience. We had a tremendous amount of interest, and there was a lot of very cool things that you were able to do in Dubai. We had a dune bashing ATV experience. Besides for the tallest building in the world called the Burj Khalifa, there's just Dubai is there's an endless amount of things to do in Dubai. And it's just really a hop, skipping away from Israel. We had some Israelis come, some Americans come. We had people from England. We had people from Europe. As well as several Americans who came as well. So it was really a fun trip. It was a great trip. It was very cool. We have several other of these trips planned for the end of the summer, for Sukkot, for Hanukkah and winter break coming up next year. Although we just came out of winter break, we are already starting to plan for all of these other trips. We have a lot of very exciting things on the horizon that I think we'll be very excited to roll out in the very near future. Right now, our plans, our sole focus is on Pesach 2021, but very soon after Pesach, you'll be hearing from us about all of our other ideas and plans coming out there in the very, very not so distant future. So we're very excited about it. We couldn't be more excited to be the first company in America to be able to have a program in Dubai, and we look forward to many more very exciting things to come in the future.
That's phenomenal. Let me know when you do Hanukkah in Greece or Pesach in Egypt. That'd be very interesting to do.
we're not so far away. Don't you could hold your breath on this one, because it's not. I got a little tiny inside scoop here. We're working on some very exciting things, and maybe in some of the places you mentioned.
Awesome.
So,
all right. Avi, thank you so much for joining us this week. I appreciate your time. I'll let you guys get back to your very hectic schedule at this time of year.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me, and I really appreciate it. And again, I hope for all of us, not just in this industry, but across the board. If I can end with one thing, our hope and prayers are for everybody to get back to whatever that new normal is, and to I know so many people have been affected. Both we have clients and guests of ours personally, but family members as well, who have been affected by COVID, and my heart breaks and goes out for all of them. And my prayers and tefillot are that we all get back to some sort of sense of normalcy, and able to come out of this stronger for the future. So thank you again for having me, and look forward to many more conversations in the future together.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Avi. My thanks to Avi Lasko for joining me this week. If you are unfamiliar with Lasko Getaways, but still think that last name sounds familiar, it's possible that you are recalling Avi's wife, Ora, who was a previous guest on our show. If you want to hear that interview, it's episode 21, Raising a Child with Genetic and Chronic Conditions. The Laskos joined the Leibowitzes as the only couples to appear as guests on the Jewish Living Podcast. From all of us at the Jewish Living Podcast, Kol Tov.
The Jewish Living Podcast is produced by Sreli Pikus. Our theme song is The Band by A.B. Rottenberg. Follow us on Facebook at The Jewish Living Podcast and on Twitter and Instagram at Jewish_living. You can also email the show at jewishlivingpodcast@gmail.com. The Jewish Living Podcast is recorded in conjunction with the Queen's Jewish Link.